Hey gang, using the promo code MTGMudsta, one word, all caps, will get you 10% off orders of $10 or more at Flipside Gaming, Original Magic Art, and orders of singles at Multizone. If they don't have what you're looking for, you could check out TCG Player and use my affiliate link to help support the channel. Looking for a way to bling out your deck and not spend a fortune? Alter Sleaze can help with that, and you can help with the channel at the same time by using my affiliate link. Or, if you're looking to join the Goblin Gang, you can always support me through Patreon. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game was filmed with the Punt Squad through Discord, and once more, I forgot to record opening hands. I'm playing Volrath, Adam is playing Unesh, Omar is playing Licia, and I should warn you, Scott is playing the very not safe for work unsleeved Morophon deck. It's full of cards that are HP at the minimum, so if you have any kind of heart condition, be careful. Anyway, Omar wins the die roll and starts us off. Omar plays a Bloodstained Mire, cracks it, and losing one to go and find a land. In the meantime, Adam takes his turn playing an island. I play a tapped Llanowar Reborn, which comes in with a graph counter on it, and I pass to Scott. Scott plays a City of Brass and taps one for a Changeling Outcast. Omar plays a Mountain, and then pays 2 mana for Talisman of Indulgence. Adam plays an island, passing. I play a Watery Grave, taking 2 so it comes in untapped, and I cast Chevelle. Scott plays a Plains and drops an Arcane Signet. He hits Adam for 1, and in the second main phase, plays another 1-drop with a Universal Automaton, passing. Omar plays a Swamp, and then pays 4 for Keurig, losing some life for the Phyrexian mana cost of the legendary creature. Adam plays an island and passes once more. On my upkeep, I get a trigger from Chevelle and put a bounty counter on Keurig. I then play and enchant my Drowned Catacomb with a Wild Growth. I then run out the Ozolith, passing turn. Scott plays a tap Mystic Monastery and loses another one from the City of Brass as he casts a Felwar Stone. He then taps the rest of his mana for Into the North to go and find a Snowland tapped. It's a snow-covered mountain. Moving to combat, he hits Omar for 1. Omar moves through his phases to combat on his turn, swinging Keurig at Adam. Adam doesn't block and takes the hit. This has Omar gaining 2 life. And he then plays a tapped Kabir Crossroads, gaining 2 more. Omar then loses 2 life, paying the black mana in Lycia's cost with Phyrexian mana thanks to Keurig, which also gives him a +1/+1 counter from Omar casting a black spell. His commander then resolves, and he passes to Adam. Adam plays another island and casts Mana Crypt. He then taps out for Unesh, who enters, and I have the Llanowar Reborn graphed put a +1/+1 counter onto Unesh. Adam then gets a 4-card Factor Fiction, and I make piles of High Tide by itself, and Force of Will with 2 islands. Adam takes the pile with Force, and then has to discard down to 7, pitching 2 lands. I play a Force for turn, and cast Renata. I then pass to Scott. Scott casts Joda, and then pays another 2, taking 1 for an Amiiboy Changeling. He then goes at Omar with the Outcast again, and passes. Omar untaps and draws. He casts Curse of Opulence and enchants it onto me, and goes to combat. He swings Lycia at Adam and Keurig at me, which gets him a treasure token from the curse. Adam declares no blocks, and before damage, Omar activates Lycia's ability to give her some counters at the cost of some of his life. His creatures then connect, with Omar gaining life back from lifelink and passing to Adam. Adam rolls for his Mana Crypt, losing and taking 3, and then plays and cracks a Misty Rainforest, taking another 1. You can tell I'm talking at this point because Adam is keeping track of his life on his phone while I'm not on the screen. He grabs a Mystic Sanctuary, putting High Tide back on top, and then casts Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, having it come in as a copy of Unesh. This gets him 2 triggers from Unesh, and he keeps the pile with Phantasmal Image. He has Omar make the second pile, and this time keeps the one with the Universal Automaton in it. He then casts the Automaton for free since Sphinxes now cost him 4 colorless less, and he gets 2 more triggers from his Uneshes upon it entering. He takes the pile with Sphinx of the Second Sun from the first trigger and then Scott makes the second pile, and Adam takes the pile with 2 mana rocks, and we see a Sphinx and the island go to the graveyard. Adam then casts a Chrome Mox, exiling Mind Over Matter to it, which is a bold choice in my opinion. And he casts Sphinx of the Second Sun, getting another 2 Unesh triggers as it enters. Omar makes the pile this time around, and Adam keeps the Thassa's Oracle and Aetherflux Reservoir because they're 2 of his win cons. Moving to combat, Unesh then hits Omar. And once he's done his combat phase, Adam gets another beginning phase. He untaps, rolls for his Mana Crypt, passes, and then draws. He then begins his post-combat main phase by casting an Aetherflux Reservoir. He then casts Snap, gaining 6 from the Aetherflux, and returning the Automaton to hand. He recasts the Automaton, gaining 7, and then gets 2 Unesh triggers as it enters. This time around, I get to make the piles, and I separate Chains of Vapor, leaving a pile of 2 islands and the Sphinx of Uthun, with Adam taking the Sphinx pile. Scott gets the second trigger, giving Adam a pile of 4 and 0 so that Adam doesn't discard Kozilek and shuffle his graveyard back in. Adam then pays 2 for a Phantasmal Image, which comes in as a copy of the Sakashima Unesh, which gives him 8 life from casting it, and then 3 Unesh triggers upon it entering. Omar makes this pile, and Adam takes the island and the Gilded Lotus. I make the second pile, with a pile of 3 and 1, with Adam discarding the Sphinx that mills his opponents. Scott then makes the next one, and has Turnabout by itself, which Adam obviously takes. Adam now has a beefy hand, and he's able to cast a Sphinx of Uthun, gaining even more life, and this time getting 3 Unesh triggers, plus its own. Omar has Nexus and the Windreader Sphinxpia pile, which Adam takes. I make a pile of 3 and Cyclonic Rift, which Adam takes the Rift. Scott makes a pile of Mystical Tutor and 3, and Adam takes the Mystical Tutor. We then move to the Sphinx's actual trigger, and Adam takes the pile of Spark Double after we make it. Adam then passes, discarding down to 7, one of which is Kozilek, so he shuffles his graveyard back into his library, and we pass to me. I draw and pray for an uncounterable board wipe in black, which I unfortunately don't draw and don't think exists. I then cast Volrath in my main phase and play a Ghost Quarter. I move to combat, putting the -1/-1 counter from Volrath onto the Sphinx of the Second Sun, and before leaving combat, I then pay 1 to have Volrath become a copy of it. I then gain a second beginning phase, untapping and drawing. In my second main phase, I then lose 2 life to help cast Tezzeret's Gambit. I proliferate the -1/-1 counter on Adam's Sphinx of the Second Sun, and give Volrath another +1/+1 counter from the one that Renata gave him as he came in. I'm also nice enough to give Licia another +1/+1 counter, and then draw 2 cards, passing to Scott. Scott draws and pays 5 for Morophon. He names Slivers as it comes in, and then goes to combat. He goes at me with the Outcast, making a treasure token, and I then take 2 since I can't block it, and he passes to Omar. Omar draws and casts Children of Corliss in his main phase. He moves to combat, with Kirik going at me, and Licia going at Adam. This gives Omar a treasure from the curse, and Adam blocks the commander with the Sphinx of Uthun. Before damage, Omar activates Licia, losing some life to give her more counters. His post-combat main phase then has Wrath of Godhead in the stack, and Adam takes 1 as he casts Force of Will for the alternate cost and exiles a card from his hand. Scott responds to this by tapping his Amiiboy Changeling, and targets the Phantasmal Image with his ability, which forces Adam to sacrifice it. Omar then uses life to cast Phyrexian Reclamation because of Kirik, getting a counter on him, and then sacrifices the Children of Corliss before passing to gain back the 7 life he lost this turn. Adam rolls for his Mana Crypt, failing and losing 3. He plays an island for turn, and then pays 7 mana for Seagate Restoration, drawing 7 more cards and gaining 1 life. He then pays the surge cost of Dwar Isle Avenger, gaining 2 more life, and gets 2 Unesh triggers. He has me make the first pile, and takes my pile of Ghostly Flicker and Factor Fiction. Scott makes the second pile, and Adam takes a pile with an island and Frantic Search. Adam then hits Omar with the Real Unesh as he moves to combat, and before his post-combat main phase, gets another beginning phase of untapping, upkeeping, and drawing. He does pass his Crypt roll this time, and he then floats 7 blue mana and casts Turnabout to untap his lands with 3 floating. He also gains 3 life from the Aetherflux Reservoir. He then uses the floating mana and taps 4 for Nexus of Fate, gaining 4 life this time and an extra turn. Adam then plays out a Thought Vessel so he doesn't need to discard anything, and gains 5, passing to himself and his extra turn. Adam draws and rolls for the Mana Crypt. He avoids taking damage, and then plays an island for turn in his main phase. He casts Sphinx Mindbreaker, and as it enters, this has his opponents milling 10 cards each, and Adam gaining 1 life, plus gaining 2 Unesh triggers. I do 1 land, 1 spell, with Adam taking the long-term plans. Scott does the second trigger, and Adam takes the pile with a free counterspell. Adam then pays 3 mana and gains 2 life as he casts a Cloudstone Curio. And next up, he casts a Frantic Search to draw 2, discard 2, and untap 3 lands, gaining even more life. Ghostly Flicker then hits the stack, with Adam gaining more life and blinking the Mana Crypt and the Sphinx Mindbreaker. It re-enters, and we all mill another 10, while Adam gets his 2 triggers from Unesh, plus returns to hand the Automaton from the Cloudstone Curio trigger. Omar gets this first trigger, and knows we're all pretty much done for, giving Adam a pile of 4 and 0. I make a second pile, and Adam keeps Thassa's Oracle from it. Adam then recasts the Automaton, gaining even more life and more Unesh triggers, and returns to hand the Mill Sphinx from the Curio trigger, and moves to combat. Unesh and the Jwara Isle Avenger hit Omar, and Adam then moves to his post-combat main phase, but gets another beginning phase beforehand. He re-rolls for his Mana Crypt trigger, but there's no avoiding the damage this time around, taking 3. He then decides to cast a Consecrated Sphinx, once the fabled bad boy of EDH, but in comparison by right now, not so scary. This has Adam gaining another 2 Unesh triggers, plus gaining more life and a Cloudstone Curio trigger. And we do some quick math. We realize Adam can basically cast the Automaton for free, and then bounce back the Surge Sphinx enough times to get to 150 life, which means that we're all dead to the Aetherflux Reservoir. We figure since we have no removal for it, otherwise we would have played it, this is a good time to shuffle up and move on to the next game. Game review time. My goodness, did Unesh pop off. I always knew he was a powerful commander, but I think what it really boils down to is that when you have a powerful commander, and then an extra copy of that powerful commander, and then the potential to clone that commander as many times as you have clones, things get a bit nutty. Being able to go 8 cards deep per creature, not to mention that his creatures were costing 4 colorless less, was insane. Casting that free Universal Automaton and getting to keep basically 4 cards is insane. I think we had a very narrow window of opportunity, basically when Adam was casting Sakashima or a follow-up spell, to disrupt the combo that eventually became his winning plays. I wouldn't call the deck particularly competitive since it relies so heavily on his commander, who costs 6 in a non-green deck. Plus, the deck really seems to only take off when Sakashima's out. I think if Omar had resolved that Wrath of God, the game would have played out very differently for Adam. It's really unfortunate that Scott didn't get to showcase his Morophon Everything Tribal deck, because I've seen it in action, and it has trounced some seriously tuned and powerful decks. It gets really crazy when you start having lords that affect everything, and get really crazy things like hexproof and flying and all that other good stuff slapping onto every creature you control. I think Omar's Licia deck did pretty well, and the fact that he was able to get his commander out as early as he did was just a testament to showing how powerful Keurig is when you're able to pay life instead of black mana. I think both Scott and I were really hoping that Omar would have drawn to something like Swords to Plowshares or Path to Exile to deal with the Sakashima, and I think he was too, but unfortunately, as you saw, he didn't. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/mtgmudsta. And lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/mtgmudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.